It's Thirsty Thursday. You're so thirsty, thirsty Thursday. Thirsty for knowledge, thirsty Thursday. Drink it up.
Thanks for joining me for another Thirsty Thursday. I'm glad to know that you're thirsty for education. Today, we're talking about setting reasonable expectations. I find a lot of times when working with leaders that they have expectations for their team members that either their team members aren't even aware of or aren't reasonable. So how can you ensure that your expectations for your team are actually reasonable and achievable? I've got some tips. When setting expectations, the first thing I want you to do is focus on your objection. What is it that you're trying to achieve? What direction are you headed in? Make sure that when you're setting these expectations, that every goal or expectation that you put in place has to do with that final objective or direction. It's going to get you where you're going. So focus on your direction. Once you've determined your direction or objective and you've started to outline your expectations, the next thing I want you to do is get input. Actually talk to your team members and ask them, if this is where we're trying to go, what do you think is reasonable of an expectation? Make sure that you're getting employee buy-in. When you get buy-in from your team, it makes it a lot easier to hold them accountable. The next thing I want you to do when you are setting expectations is to think about your employees' capabilities. You see, expectations aren't all for one and one for all. Everyone has different capabilities. Our time management skills, our platform knowledge, all of these things differ from team member to team member. So making sure that when you're setting your expectations, you take in consideration the different capability levels of your team, that you're flexible in those expectations and you're actually able to have one-on-one conversations and set expectations reasonably. Next, I want you to put these expectations in writing. By putting them in writing, it allows you to, first of all, make sure that what you are expressing is actually your intent. Many times we think that we're explaining something properly, but when we put it in writing and we review it, we see that really it needs to be clarified. So putting it in writing does a couple of things. It allows you to take another look at it. But in addition, it makes it easier to communicate with your team and hold them accountable, because now they can go back and refer to your writing and make sure that they have a thorough understanding of your expectations and what will happen if they don't meet them. And finally, you want to reevaluate your expectations, not only when you're first putting them into place, but also regularly, because business changes, team members change, heck, our direction and objectives may change. And so it's important that we're constantly going back and reviewing the expectations that we've put in place and make sure that they're still in line with where we're hoping to be, who we have on our team, and they're still realistic in the market that we're in. Ultimately, once you have your expectations in place, in writing, and you know where you're going, make sure you share them with your team. But there's one more important thing that you should do, and that's tell your team members the why behind your expectations. Now, I know a lot of leaders and managers who think, I don't have to tell them why, they just need to do it because I said so. But when it comes to setting expectations, we need to know what we're working for and why we're working towards it. If you explain the why, it makes it a whole lot easier to get buy-in from your team. So be sure that when setting expectations, you're making them reasonable by focusing on your direction, getting the input of your team, considering the capabilities of your staff, and then putting those expectations in writing, being willing to reevaluate them and explain your why. If you follow these 6 easy steps, then setting expectations will not only be reasonable, but you'll be able to achieve your expectations and hold others accountable. Join me next week for another Thirsty Thursday. And make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the little bell so that you can get reminders every Monday and Thursday when I release new content. Have a great day and be inspired.